Welcome back to PT Meal Podcast, a buffet of play, therapies, movement, exercises, activities, and leisure, all packed in a hearty conversation of physical therapy profession and practice. I am Johan de la Paz, your host, and as always, thank you for joining us. So, for today's discussion or conversation, we are going to talk about entrepreneurship and owning and starting a business. And to help us with that topic and to share her experiences and inspire us with her stories is my dear friend Lady Servillas, physical therapist in Florida. Lady, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Dr. De La Paz, for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Glad to have you here. So I met Lady just this year in the CSM, and right off the bat, we kind of hit it off. We had fun in that seminar, and all throughout the year already. So it was nice. We've been planning about this podcast for a long time, and I'm glad that it already is happening right now. So, Lady, to for those who are getting to know you for the first time, could you give us a little background on who you are and what you do?
So, again, my name is Lady Servillas. So, I graduated year 2002. I know the age. I don't look my age, right? Just kidding. So, yeah, 2002. So, I graduated in the Philippines, University of the East, Ramon Magsaysay. So then after a few months, I went here in US, but I always knew that I was going to go to business because even back in the Philippines, I've always been like kind of really business oriented. So that's where the passion started. Actually, the passion started being poor. So
Mhm. All right. And and can you elaborate on how you got into physical therapy? Was that something that you wanted, or was it something that your family told you to get into?
so originally, I really wanted to become a doctor, but of course, coming from a poor background, so I knew that we won't be able to afford it. And during that time, I think physical therapy was kind of a big thing. Like you can get to the U.S. faster. Though my mom was already here in U.S., but
Mm.
I knew that that was the path that I needed to take.
Okay, gotcha. And that paved the way for you to come over here.
Yes.
Yeah, but you mentioned that from the beginning you felt that business and entrepreneurship is where you're heading. So could you tell us your experience? How did that happen? How did that begin? What sparked that, like interest or that idea that this is what I want to do?
Yeah, so again, coming from, kind of like a more of a poor background, like we grew up like because back in the Philippines, there's a big difference being educated in a public school and private school. All Filipinos know that. But lo behold, I mean, thank God, like my mom never really always put it in a private school, though we were kind of always the poorest in that private school. But so that was where the passion came from. That I know that the only way for us to get out of poverty is kind of be your own boss or create your own company.
Hmm. Did you create something in the Philippines, or did you start here in the US?
No, so back in the Philippines, even when I was really young, so I would, we would sell outside our house, like those banana cues, which are like a dessert thing for
Mhm.
the Filipinos. And the Filipinos would definitely know that. And so it all started way, way back then. I've always been into selling things, and then when the cell phone came out,
Mhm.
right? So there was this big thing back then, like you're gonna start putting backlights or you're gonna start putting those screen
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
the
Right, right.
phone. So me having no shame, I actually went to one of the shops. It was a Korean standing store, and I just asked him like, "Hey, can I rent a space in your, can I rent a space here?" And that's all it started. So we started with one Robinsons, and we ended up with five Robinson stalls for those cell phones.
Wow. Is that after you finished physical therapy, or while
No,
you're studying?
while I was studying.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay. Wow. So, did that come from? I mean, is anyone in your family an entrepreneur, business owner? Is that where you got your inspiration from?
No, actually, nobody was. Yeah,
All
nobody was
right.
in business or anything. Hmm.
Uh-huh. Got it. Got it. Got it. All right. Talk to us about the companies that you own right now. What are the is it all in healthcare, or uh is it in other industries as well?
So yes, so we do own a couple of companies. So a lot of them are in healthcare, some of them are not. So first we have outpatient clinics all throughout Florida,
Mm-hmm.
and then we also own home health agencies where we do provide nurses, physical therapists, private aides, med techs in patients' home or assisted living facilities.
Mm-hmm.
We also own diagnostic company where we do provide mobile X-ray
Wow.
and ultrasound.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we own a call center in the Philippines in Ortigas.
Uh-huh.
So yes, so we do
Wow.
provide virtual assistants, programmers, so different things that what a normal call center do,
Uh-huh.
and we did own a financial company as well. So we kind
Wow.
of like did different things, and
Uh-huh.
we also have a provider company where we're able to do education and training.
That wow, that's a lot.
Yeah,
So
it is.
how did you start uh with those companies? Um, because like you mentioned outpatient, you mentioned home health agencies, and a lot more. So what was your first one?
The very first one is a staffing agency. So that
Uh-huh.
was like the cheapest way. So when I came here in 2003, I believe, I knew my path. I knew that I wanted to become a business owner. So I was so geared into that direction that I knew that I have to meet the people that's kind of on
Uh-huh.
the managers, the
Uh-huh.
business owners, because I needed to learn from them. Coming from the Philippines, now it's a different arena. I'm in US territory, so I have
Right.
to learn how they do things. So
Uh-huh.
that's the first business we own, the staffing agency.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right. And that the other companies follow there. Is
Yes.
it true that like once you start, you start your own company and you feel that it's doing good? Is it true that you can't really stop? You're gonna think about what's next. Is that
I
true with business owners and
I
startup companies?
I believe so because
Uh-huh.
like it depends like why do you want to become a business owner? That's what I always say. Like
Mm-hmm.
what is your goal really? Like what's your starting and what's your end goal? So for me it's all about my starting point was, hey, I wanted to kind of get out of poverty and help my family,
Mm-hmm.
out of poverty. And then once you start becoming a business owner, that's when you realize that you have the potential to actually be a vehicle of God's grace. So it means like you're able to hire people and do good with people and share the blessings that you have. So you just wanted to start growing and growing, from one employee to 100 employees to, like 200 employees. So that's where I think the business, once a business owner always wants to become a business owner.
Mm-hmm. So it's like once you start, you can't stop, or you try to move on to the next one because you've seen the progress and the number of people that it helped. Then you can, do you identify other problems? That's why you try to, you know seek other solutions.
Yeah, absolutely. Like from like a good example, for example, like I knew that the staffing was a problem back then for
Mm-hmm.
therapy, so that's where we started. And then there's also a problem in clinics back in 2003, so we started plugging in clinics,
Mm-hmm.
and we saw like during the time that all right, it's kind of hard to just be in the therapy because we do need nurses and home health aides to actually complete the whole cycle and giving a complete care to the elderly.
Mm-hmm.
So you always find a problem and you always create a solution. So
Gotcha. Right, right. Um, you told us, you shared with us how you started, like in the Philippines, selling,
Mhm.
you know, getting stalls in different malls and venues. Um, would you say that it was natural for you to do that, or did you look up to any other person and said, I want to be that person, that's why I'm doing this?
So in the Philippines, I didn't, because remember, during that time, like internet was not big at all. So it's either
Oh.
TV, right? And I wasn't even big in TV.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's just the drive, like
Mm-hmm.
again, I was surrounded by friends that have money,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm always the one, like doesn't have it. Like I have to borrow, my graduation clothes from my best friend, kind of that kind of deal. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, and being surrounded with people that have money then still are so humble and good hearted, that was like I want to be like them.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Would you say the entrepreneurial spirit or the business mind spirit, is it something that a person has or hasn't? Is it something that you naturally have, or you can learn to have it?
So as a business consultant, it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely, like for me, I think it was kind of a little bit, thank God, I think it's one of the talents that he gave me, because
Mm-hmm.
I always had that spirit, or I always had that drive, like go, 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 go. You know what? Unless you try it, you never know if it's gonna click or not. So I'm pretty bold when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm.
But for some people, they have an idea. So that's where business consultancy come in. Like they do have an idea on how to do things, but they're really not that business savvy.
Mm-hmm.
So not everybody is meant to be really good in business, but
Mm-hmm.
that's where you pull other people to help you, right? Like even as a business owner, I'm definitely not good in financials, so I have to rely on other people to help me on that department.
Right. Okay. So for someone who doesn't know where to start but has an idea, they can look for someone that they trust and, team up, something like that, or seek consultation from those who don't who knows more about it.
Yes. So what I did now, here in US, what I did is I always had every single year. So I've been here in US for 20 years, right? I would always have like three mentors every year that I would follow. Like
Mm-hmm.
I would really make an effort to know them.
Mm-hmm.
Especially nowadays, it's kind of easy because of the internet. So,
Mm-hmm.
or like there's YouTube, there's whatever media you want to use, Facebook, you can follow them.
Mm-hmm. When you say mentors, do you mean mentors that you pay, or mentors that you just look up to, you follow their lives, their business plans, their career paths? What's a mentor for you? Because it's different for everyone.
It is. So for me, I look into a mentor is like somebody that I look up to,
Mhm.
somebody who, I've seen their struggles, I've seen how they treat people, and
Mhm.
I've seen how their success and their losses as well.
Uh-huh. So it doesn't matter if you know them personally, but if for you, it's the material that they put out.
Yes,
Mhm.
but I always make a point that I will find a way to know them.
Okay, to
Yeah,
interact them at
to
least.
interact, exactly, to even just interact with them, or I would pray that, like a good example is the owner of Watercress assisted living facility. So I saw him on LinkedIn 3 years way back, I mean 7 years way back. So,
Mhm.
and I do love how he does servant leadership. I'm
Mhm.
like, I want to be like that, I want to be able to be a true servant leader.
Mhm.
And after, lo and behold, after 3 years, I finally met him and we landed a couple of contracts in a lot of their facilities.
Mhm. Oh, that's good. Yeah, um I mean, people uh would be, shy to contact their mentors, or the people that they look up to, just because, they're shy, they're afraid to be rejected. But most of them are really, approachable. They do want to share what they have.
I totally agree with you.
Uh-huh. Right, because what do you mean? What am I saying? Like, because I think, like, for most of them, they've reached a certain point that they're comfortable where they are, that they're only, the only thing that they want to do is share it to those who really seek for it and ask for it, right? Mhm.
No,
Right.
I totally agree with you. Like sometimes when I do business consultancy, I don't consult with everybody,
Mhm.
but I look into the person first. Like, do they really want to do this? Are they really passionate on
Mhm.
what they're doing? It's not just. I mean, again, of course, money is a big factor in any business,
Right.
but you'll also see if they're just money driven, and that always doesn't work all the time. You really have to have a passion in what you want to do.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So you mentioned passion. Passion drives uh, a person. So what motivates you like each day that when you're handling your businesses? Because when you say motivation, some people think that motivation comes from outside, but in truth, motivation is what is coming from inside you, what drives you. So for you, what motivates you in going about your businesses and in your companies?
What motivates me the most is the when you grow a business, or when you're in a position that you're able to actually give. um that's what motivates me, is like knowing that I can be, a little bit of in a control, that I'm able to help somebody,
Mm-hmm.
without thinking like, all right, why I really can't give right now because I do have to pay my bills. So that what motivates me is like a good example is like, our call center, if they do need educational, like scholarship, or like somebody needs to borrow something, they don't have to pay interest. It's just automatic, like there's no layer of you got to go to the HR. Like anybody that works with us, like they can go directly to me, and we'll figure out a way to help them. So I think that's what motivates me, is like the ability to be able to help somebody.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Okay. So that's motivation. And so let's now go to like what or who inspires you, because inspires like uh someone or something that external that keeps you going.
Mhm. So what inspires me truly is we do actually own a nonprofit organization,
Mm-hmm.
Faith in Humanity.
Mm-hmm.
So which we give 4-year, scholarship to Filipinos. So
Mm-hmm.
that's my big push. Like education. So you learn, they
Mm-hmm.
build it, and they serve.
Mm-hmm.
So I want that to be, like if somebody tells you like, hey, if you die, what do you want to be remembered? I want to be remembered that, hey, I was able, people were able to learn, they were able to build something out of that, what they learned, and finally they're able to serve.
Mm-hmm. All right. What's that foundation? Faith in Humanity.
Yes, faith in
Right.
humanity. Mhm.
And how did that start?
So that's always been my dream, is
Uh-huh.
to have a nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
So it started in 2018 finally.
Uh-huh.
So we were in a position to be able to, create the foundation. Um, Actually here in US, it's kind of it's very meticulous. It's kind of hard to own a foundation, and thank God that it was approved. And that's where we started. We started with people just they have to send out applications and everything, and we just don't look at the grades. Of course grades is a factor,
Uh-huh.
but we definitely look at more of the character.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You've always been wanting to help
Yes,
people in the Philippines, right?
because I
Uh,
was in that position back then. So
mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely our way of giving back to the people that has helped us
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Like paying forward.
It's super paying
Mhm.
forward. Mhm.
Right. Um, People would think that, starting a business or owning a business is like like grand and yeah, this is, I own a business, I started a business. But could you give us like what's the other side of starting and owning a business? What's other people not talking about like business? What are the like challenges or the bad side of starting and owning a business?
Well, the bad side, or the bad side of owning a business is it's a 24 hour.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when when you just started. You are everything. You are HR, you are payroll, you are the clinician, you are the janitor, you are the office cleaner. You definitely are everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like, people don't see that in the beginning. They would say like, oh, she made it big. Trust me, there were a lot of struggles in between, and there's still struggles right now.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, aside from that, like 20, you have to have that mindset that, that is your baby. You're gonna have to be looking at it 24/7
In the
um
beginning.
in the beginning. Right, right,
Yeah.
right. So what should they go into when they starting to when they even think of starting a business? What should
The
they be like thinking into, or their perspective or their mindset going into or starting a business?
I think people really need to start with whatever they're passionate about. I've always been passionate about the elderly, because I my grandmother was the one who raised me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I focus on, serving
Mm-hmm.
the geriatrics. Second is I focus on my skills. I graduated as a physical therapist, so that's where it started. And then look at the problem. During that time, staffing was a problem. So we created a solution for that one. So
Mm-hmm.
those I believe, like, in any beginning of a business, that's the three things you have to look, like, what is your true passion,
Mm-hmm.
who is your target population,
Mm-hmm.
and how you're gonna get there, and the networking and the people that you're already surrounded with.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that makes it a little bit easier.
All right. So because the people that might help you with starting your business.
Yes.
Hmm. Right. And what's so we've tackled some of the challenges and the proper mindset starting a business. So what's a nice thing? What are nice things to think about when when you have your own business, or you're supporting yourself, and does you don't have any bosses.
Well, that's one. Like, you don't
Mhm.
have a boss.
Uh-huh.
So
Right.
though I mean, I always get along with people, thank God. But
Mhm.
definitely that's one of the plus. You don't have to answer to somebody. But as a business owner, you should not think of it that way, because your employees, you answer to your employees.
Mhm. Right.
'Cause if you're the type of business owner that doesn't, that think like, well, I'm the boss, I don't have to think of the employees, you're definitely, it's going to be such a short live, compared to if you know that I answer to the people that I work with, not
Right.
that works for me.
Mhm.
I work with them.
Right. Right. Okay. What else? Something that what else is there something that good if you
The,
have
the time, of
mhm.
course, like, I'm able to take off whenever I want, of
Mhm.
course. I'm able to create programs that I wanted to do,
Mhm.
create services that I love and enjoy, and go to a lot of, I'm able to educate myself again.
Mhm.
So again, that comes with, finally, I'm in that stage that I'm able to focus on some of the things that I always wanted to do. So,
Mhm. All right. Time control and being able to do what you wanted to do, as compared to someone who's answering to someone, to a boss, and
or a company.
working, or a
Mhm.
company working 8 to 5, or 8 to 9 to 5. Right.
Yeah,
Hmm.
you have to file for a sick leave, or you have to file for a vacation leave. What if
Hmm.
they're not gonna allow you to? So everything is reliant to your
Hmm.
boss or to the company.
Hmm. Right. And you don't have your time, the amount that you're gonna get doesn't equate to your time. You don't have to actually work,
Mm-hmm.
because your company runs itself.
Exactly.
Mhm. Right. Um, with starting a company, we've mentioned earlier that there are some challenges, and the not so good side of starting and owning a company. Um, have you had any failures back then when you were starting?
Oh yeah.
Uh huh.
I mean, I told you I'm bad in financial.
Uh-huh.
So,
How were you able to handle that?
so back back then, I've always been, I've always like just love to work, 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 and I'm
Mhm.
not good in collecting.
Mhm.
So
Oh, okay.
yeah, like
That's, I think that's a common problem of Filipinos, collecting, charging.
isn't it? Like I
Uh-huh.
think it is such a Filipino thing. Like you would just like do the job because you feel like, like you're already calculating, put it on a paper, like, oh, this is what I'm gonna make.
Mhm.
But then you forget to charge to charge them, and that's where actually we became more steadier and more successful when I met my husband, because
Mhm.
he used to own a business as well, and he is a big financial guy.
Mhm.
So he was like, how come you have all these things and you're not collecting,
Mhm.
It's like,
Right.
you're right. So
Uh-huh. So
yeah,
what was
that
your remedy then?
well, the remedy is he became the chief financial officer. So that was
Okay.
the remedy.
Gotcha.
So the
Hire
remedy
someone who knows.
exactly. That definitely a key to any business is if you know you're weak on it, hire somebody, because you think you're saving money. No, you're losing money and you're losing time. So
Mhm.
mhm,
Right, right. Right.
mhm.
And of course you've, now that you have a lot of what do you call this, companies that you own, how do you handle success now?
So how do we handle this? By the way, so all the business, some of the business we own, we do have a business partner, like for the home
Partners.
health.
Hmm.
Yes, so we do have a business partner for that one.
Hmm.
Um, for the rest, it's of course me and my husband. But how
Hmm.
do we handle success? Is we handle it as a blessing and makes you more humble, because
Hmm.
nothing here on earth is ours,
Hmm.
and that's how we wanted to handle success, is being able to give back.
Give back. Right, right.
Yeah, we don't want to be the type of people that's successful and just, there's nothing wrong in buying things that you like, that are nice things as well. There's nothing wrong with that. Do not ever feel guilty. You work hard
Hmm.
enough, so you earned it. But it doesn't, like, the joy of giving is such a different high.
Hmm.
And I
Right.
wish like all people that are successful are able to find joy, and a lot of successful people actually enjoy giving more than anything.
Hmm. Right. Being able to give back, in your foundation, and in the people that work with you in your company.
Yes.
Mhm. Gotcha, gotcha. Um, I was about to ask, yeah, there. Um, in the companies that you co-own and have, um, which are those are acquired companies? Which are those are your babies that from scratch that you made?
So the babies are the outpatient clinic.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The call center is an outpatient clinic. The home health, we do have a partner on that one.
Mm-hmm.
The training and development. So we also pioneered that one,
Oh,
and we
wow.
partnered with the nurse with that.
So
Um,
all of your companies are babies. They're not like acquired companies.
no, I'm sorry. So the home health we did acquire it. It was
Oh,
already
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, nice.
So
All
it
right.
was the outpatient clinic, and then sadly, the owner wanted to retire, so
Mm-hmm.
we purchased it
Mm-hmm.
with a partner.
Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. I guess it's, like, I've heard somewhere, like, entrepreneurs start businesses on their own, like business owners, either like they acquire businesses, or inherit
Mhm.
business. Um, so basically, you're both. You started your own and you acquired some of them. So which is for you? You had both. Which is easier, or I mean, for you, which is easier for you,
There,
to make your own, start your own, or acquire a business? Of
I
course, there's difficulties in both, but for
yeah,
your experience.
I think acquiring is a lot easier
Uh,
because there's already the regs, everything is kind of an oil machine already, so you just
uh-huh.
kind of have to follow or kind of make a little bit of adjustment. But
Hmm.
when you're starting, you're learning everything from scratch. So
Gotcha, gotcha. Because when you're starting, you're yeah, as I've mentioned, you're learning everything from scratch. As also, you're trying to innovate something that's different from your competitors as well.
Yes.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah, they're very tricky.
Uh-huh. Okay. So acquiring is easier. But for those who are wondering, like, how do they start their own business? Where should they look into it? They have the passion, they know where they want to serve, who they want to serve. They might have people that can help them. Where should they actually start after that?
I think it's really trying to get a hold of the person that knows how to run a business already, or they've seen success.
Mm,
I think they need to start there because those people actually made the mistake already. So
mm-hmm.
that saves them time.
Uh-huh.
And like
Gotcha.
you said, like for example, you do the PT Meal podcast, like that's your forte. Like if
Mm,
somebody comes up to you, it's like, hey, can you teach me how to do it? Right? Like, of
mm,
course. And some people are intimidated with that, like thinking like, well, he's kind of big already, like would
mm,
he really want to help?
mm,
But the reality is, like you said, a lot of people that are in business really love to help for,
mm,
pro bono, just for the
mm.
labor of love.
Uh-huh. Right. I think um there's a certain fear with people approaching business people as well, because they think that business people might think that, oh, this is, if I teach them, they're gonna be my competitor, and I don't want that.
Uh-huh.
So I think that's where the fear comes in um with entrepreneurs asking other people, other business owners or entrepreneur for advice, is they
Mhm.
might think that they're competition later on.
And that is so true though. I mean, not everybody will be willing to share their secrets with you, right? But
Hmm.
again, there are people like, you and me that's willing to share how did we get here, right?
Hmm. Right, right. Yeah, yeah. Just if you get rejected once, then there's a lot of business people, entrepreneurs that can help you. It's not just one out there. There's always someone willing to help and guide you and see your passion, right?
Mhm.
Um, uh, you're going to be one of the speakers in the Global Geriatric Rehab Summit 2022 that's going to be held uh, this July 29 and 30, right?
Yes, of
You're on the
course.
second day, and your
Mhm.
topic is uh, seven figures business for physical therapists. That's quite interesting. So, could you tease us on what the audience can hear from you on that day? Just a little bit what they can expect from you, because that's
So
seven big figures, so
I
big.
know, right? Well, like I said, like the seven figure, because they're gonna learn like where do they actually stand as a physical therapist, because there's always gonna be four stages of, where you are. Are you an employee? Are you self-employed? Are you a business owner, or are you an entrepreneur? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the things that I will be talking about. Like, know first where you belong in that stage, because there's a lot of differences. And
Mm-hmm.
then once you land on you want to be an entrepreneur, so we're gonna teach like, the steps are mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
my the plus and minuses of what brought me in this arena.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like it's really like more of a personal mistakes and personal successes that they will hear, and strategies that I've learned all along.
Right. And of course they'll hear that your experiences, and then they might be able to be inspired and do that also in their um, journey to becoming an entrepreneur or business owner. um, what would you say, like, for people who think that I'm in healthcare, I shouldn't think about getting rich in healthcare, I should be
Mm-hmm.
thinking about helping people and not getting rich?
Mm-hmm. I think like everybody's different. There's nothing wrong with that,
Uh-huh.
but it like they say, you can help in a small way. You can send somebody a grocery, or you can just help by lifting or opening a door, right?
Right.
So how much help do you actually really want to give?
Mm-hmm.
Every help makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that something big would make a bigger impact, or something small gesture is, it depends on the person you're giving it to. It can be just opening a door, and literally that made the person feel valuable or very important, right? And it can be as big as giving them, a college education, right? So
Mm-hmm.
again, um, it's just a lot easier to be able to help if you have the tools.
Mm-hmm.
So think of it as being, having money is a tool to move what you wanted to do a
Mm-hmm.
little bit easier.
Mm-hmm. So it's not really, money's not bad. It's not good or bad. It's how you use it.
Exactly. It's
Uh-huh.
definitely how you use it.
Uh-huh. If you're gonna use it for something good to help other people, then excellent. You've made a difference to someone's lives or a family's life. Right.
Hmm.
So coming into, uh what's what do you call this? Where or when should a physical therapist think about having a business? Or should, in their career, should they think about starting a business, or should they be, if they're in a career that they want, then just stay there?
When they started feeling burnt out,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a key to kind of start looking what other things that you
Mm-hmm.
want to accomplish, because it can be as, like, a good example is Grace, from Steadfast Productions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she is a physical therapist. She had a passion for fashion designing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's what she did. Like, I'll put my physical therapy as a part time, and I'll do the things that I love, because all of us have something that we used to love aside from just being a physical therapist.
Right.
And
Right.
some people are happy with just being a physical therapist, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's her profession. So
Right.
kudos to all that would want to stay in the field and retire as a physical therapist.
Right. Mm-hmm. So once you start to
Burned out.
doubt or feel the burn
Yeah.
from the profession, and that's probably when you're, start to look into. And Grace was, what do you call this, she was already a guest in the podcast before. Yeah, we talked about autism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was one of her passions as well, is learning more about autism, because of her kid having
Mm-hmm.
autism. So she learned, specializing in autism and learning more about functional medicine
Mm-hmm.
because of uh, her kid. So yeah,
Enjoying
yeah.
it.
So that's, if that's your passion, then go for it, right? So that's
Mm-hmm.
what she did. Aside from, as you said, her passion for fashion, she has a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, company about it. All right. Um. So how do you, like, for many, it's one of the fears of owning a business, and like scaling it up, is handling people. um how would you advise someone that owns a business to handle people, without an experience of, handling people? They haven't been like supervisors or managers before, but they started a company that has people. So
Yeah.
how would they handle that?
Well, I always believe in the golden rule. It
Uh-huh.
means that, I want to be respected,
Uh-huh.
so I will give the respect back to you.
Mm-hmm.
So if everybody sticks in that kind of mentality, I think it will work out, much better. But of course, anybody will always get an employee or a staff or a boss, right? Or a colleague that
Uh-huh.
that just doesn't do the same wrong.
Uh-huh.
So
Mm-hmm. Just prepare for it.
just prepare for, just definitely prepare for it, because
Uh,
there's so many things that you thought, like, oh my god, I've been such an amazing employer, and then suddenly, you know, then suddenly things happen, like
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be employees that won't be happy with your decision, because at the end of the day you decide always for the, for the greater cause.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be just one way. And of course, everybody's different. Everybody can, some people can be difficult, and some people, they're easy.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Okay. So yeah, probably should start with the way you hire people. No?
Oh, hiring for me, I never hire for skill.
Mm-hmm.
I always hire for their character.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. Good.
Because skill can be learned,
Mm-hmm.
character cannot. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot, you cannot like kind of just put in somebody to be empathetic right away,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
That's
Mm-hmm.
something that you are already. So always hire for character, not for skill.
Right. As you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, skills can be learned and taught.
Mm-hmm.
Character, not so
That,
much.
that's who you are. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Right. Yeah. And I mean, once you have that, shall we say, bad apple in the mix, it can infect others,
Yeah.
and for sure you don't want that for your company, right?
That's one of the hardest things as a business owner for me, personally, is letting go of people.
Mm-hmm.
They always say, you know what, when you're letting go of somebody, it means you're just a messenger. Obviously, something happened.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you have to let them go. But until this day, that's still the hardest thing for me to do, is letting go
Mm-hmm.
of somebody. Even whatever they did, it is still the hardest for me.
Mm, gotcha. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because nowadays, I feel that nowadays, since after COVID started, like people are trying to look for companies that value who they are as a person,
Mm-hmm.
right? So and it goes both ways as well, from like the company and the employees, right? So it's more now on a give and take uh relationship than before, that the business or the companies would have more of the upper hand.
Yeah, because
uh
definitely that's a struggle with any business right now, is staffing.
hmm right.
Like they can easily just go remote, or they can just easily go to the, your competitor.
hmm
It's about how do you make them feel important.
hmm
So you have to make sure that they are part of your goals and mission as a company, as a team. You don't look at it as like, I'm the boss and you guys are here. No, everybody's on the same level. When it comes to the mission of your company, or your goals as a company.
hmm Like, right, because you all are going to the same direction, so
Hmm.
why not go together, right? Okay. So what would be your advice for people who are just conceptualizing or thinking about going into business? Probably just like not yet into it, but thinking about it or considering it.
Hmm.
What are the like things that they should read or watch or look into, or that could really inspire them, and probably scare them if it was really for them or not.
Yeah. First, I always suggest, like, write it down.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Dr. Lopez, that write it down and put a timeline on it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, because sometimes, like, it's not really the idea; it's how you make that idea
Mm-hmm.
happen, right? And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you just have to go for it. Write it down, put a
Mm-hmm.
time on it, because
Mm-hmm.
if you do not, you will always have that reason to just keep delaying that dream of yours to be an
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur or to be a business owner.
Mm-hmm. Right. Write it down.
And yes, and write it down. And then, of course, there's so many books nowadays. So many YouTube videos. My favorite book is Servant Leadership by Kenneth Blanchard.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the best for me, as a servant leader. That's for me the best one that every business owner should get. Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, write it down, manifest, look at it, put a timeline on it.
Yes, manifested. That is so true. You know what? I did that.
Uh-huh.
My whole life I manifested. I actually did not know that, I was gonna go this far.
Hmm.
Um you just don't know what God has for you. But I
Hmm.
think also God knows when you have a good heart that He will kind of propel you a little bit further than you think
Hmm.
that you were gonna land on.
Hmm. Right. Yeah, this podcast is a product of manifestation as well. I wrote this down 2019.
No way.
Thought about it, thought about the name already at 2019. Then it finally happened to 2020 because I manifested it. I talked to people about it, and that kind of um, made it concrete in the
Mhm.
eyes of many and in my eyes as well. So I told myself, since I've already told to a lot of people about it, might as well start it. So
Mhm.
that's how PT Meal started. So it really works. I mean, for me, it worked. So manifesting, writing it down, it does work.
And
And
becoming accountable to other people, because like you said, I already said it. Might as well do
right, right.
it.
I kind of already like told a lot of people, oh, I'm gonna start a podcast. Oh, I'm gonna start a podcast. I'll invite you to my podcast. I'll invite you to my podcast. And they say, okay, sure, sure, let's go, let's go. It was like, oh, I should start this podcast already.
I just started already. I keep scheduling people in my head already.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, for those who are thinking about something, your ideas, it really matters. If it's like me that I keep on thinking about it, it means that you're thinking it so much that it matters to you. So write
Mm-hmm.
it down and make it happen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So thank you, lady, for giving us a lot of like insights about starting a business and being an entrepreneur. Um, it's it's for me, it's kind of like it's scary because for me, I'm not a business minded person. I'm an idea person, I guess. Following it through, sometimes it's difficult if it requires a lot of money as well
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of
Yeah,
risk.
that's really the first factor, money.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And the risk to take and the
Mm-hmm.
resources to use. So that's my biggest problem when thinking about business and starting my own business. So yeah, that's those what you said earlier were great advice. So we're going to the end of our very short. I am not very short. It's almost an hour already,
It's
but our
not.
conversation. But it's packed with wisdom and insights into the world of starting your own business, owning your business. Um, uh, these are just my last bites, my last three questions. My first question is, what are or what is your recipe for success?
I think the recipe for success is following your passion.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
If you're passionate on what you're doing, it, you know, it doesn't feel like you're working. Of course, it is work, but
Uh-huh.
it just feels like you're doing something you love.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Okay, good. Passion. Second, is in order for us to elevate our profession of physical therapy, what should we do individually or as a group?
Like, in order to elevate our profession, I think at this era, we have to use social media, you
Mm-hmm.
know, like not be able to be scared to share your personal experiences as a physical therapist. Because again, like, people people buy into something based on their emotions. If they see you treating somebody, or like if they see you like making somebody feel better,
Mm-hmm.
that's when they're thinking like, you know what, I do want to become a better therapist, or I do want to go to I do want to become a physical therapist. So don't be afraid to share your story, because it's true to life, right? That's how
Mm-hmm.
we're going to get people be more involved and be better clinicians.
Mm-hmm. And that's the key to social media, I feel, is the emotion that what you put out invokes to,
Mm-hmm.
you know, with other people. If they can relate to your story, they buy into your you know, what you're selling, your products, your services, because they can see themselves in you, or they
Exactly.
can see themselves in the people that you help.
Yeah, exactly. And
Mhm.
that's what, like, don't be afraid of social media, you know. I'm also not the type that loves being in front of camera or putting a video. I mean, it doesn't even have to be me treating a client, or me, you know, talking about physical therapy with other students. It's just capturing those moments where you see that, who, I actually made a difference on this one, you know,
Mhm.
or having like a live thing where you see the reaction of somebody because they made you feel better. I mean, you made them feel better. So those are, again, it's not the company that you sell. You always sell yourself. You know, the
Mhm.
company bought in because of you. So
Mhm.
same thing for our profession. The people, patients will buy in more in believing the physical therapy can help them
Mhm.
by showing them.
Mhm. Right, right. I think that's where we're lacking as a as a profession, is that we don't get much hype, right,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
for what we do and who we are. We see in TV shows, we see doctors, we see nurses,
Nurses, exactly. Uh-huh.
we see people who draw blood, we see, you know, but we don't see physical therapists in their whole nature and their whole, you know, setting and specialties, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we are not, we should be our own media.
We should. I like that actually.
Uh-huh.
Definitely. If there's anything that with this podcasting right now, we
Mhm.
definitely have to be our own media. You know, we have to be the one showing the world like we are a valuable part of being a physical therapist, because as you recall before, even with the COVID happens, like, is physical therapy really a part of as the frontliner?
Right, right. That was a
Right.
question. I mean, that shouldn't even be a question.
Exactly. But people don't know because we never put it out there how important our role is in
Mhm.
healthcare.
Yeah, it was question that, are we even essential? And even like some physical therapists think that we're not essential, that we're not supposed to be working during COVID. I mean, we get people moving, and COVID stops people from moving.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So we're supposed to be there. We're supposed to be here or important. So yeah, that's something uh that was unreal back then. I was
Yeah,
like,
but
that
remember,
shouldn't be even a question.
and always remember the lawmakers. They're
Uh-huh.
not clinicians. You know, the ones
Hmm.
that saying that we're not essential, they don't know.
Uh-huh.
But I guess, it's time to move the, physical therapy, choose physical therapy, making sure that we're out there posting something, how good we are, how essential we are. You know, how we actually really change lives.
Hmm. True, true. I agree. All right, and my last bite is, um what are uh three things that you carry with you each and every day that you think are important or essential in your day-to-day life? In short, what are the three ingredients that make up lady?
Um, I think it's humility.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being human. It means like showing your weaknesses and your mistakes in life.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always feel like, that can be a guide for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And passion.
Mm-hmm. All right. Humility, being human, and passion. That chewy.
And that's my dog. Sorry.
That's all right. So again, thank you, lady, for this very insightful and thoughtful conversation about entrepreneurship and business ownership as well. Um, my last, you know, question, the last thing that I ask my patients, my patients, my sorry, my guests here is, what is one thing that you want your what you want our, our audience, our viewers, our listeners to carry with them after our conversation? In short, what do you want them to put in their to go boxes and bring to their lives later on?
uh, don't be afraid to make a mistake,
Mm-hmm.
because truly it's not a mistake, it's just lesson learned,
Mm-hmm.
so that's how I always see businesses or life in general.
Hmm. I
Just go
agree.
for it. Hmm.
I agree with that. I agree. Totally agree with that. Mistakes. It's not a mistake. It's lesson learned. That's why you should never have any regrets because you gain a lesson. You gain something from everything.
No, exactly, and just the truth behind it. You learn something. I mean, even with the people we interact with, I mean,
Hmm.
daily things.
Hmm. All right. So thank you very much, lady. For anyone who wants to reach out to you, where can they find you?
Yeah, so they can follow my page, She Means Business. And again, I'll be more than happy to, just take a look at what your passion is, and hopefully be able to guide you guys.
Hmm.
And uh, it's just, I love seeing people grow,
Hmm.
and I'll be more than happy to guide anybody that's really passionate in what they wanted to accomplish in life.
All right. And also, lady is going to be speaking in the Global Geria Rehab Summit uh, 2022 this coming July. I think the registration is still open. So just look it up in the events page of Facebook,
Yes.
and, you'll hear her talk there. 7 figures for physical therapist. All right. Thank you, lady. You're always welcome in the show if we want to come back and have another conversation.
Thanks. Thanks, Dr. De La Paz.